All right. Hello, Annice. My name is Dr. Lipp. Um, I'm a assistant professor here in the clinical mental health counseling program at the Chicago School, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
It is such a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Lipp. My name is Annice Allen. I'm a first year master's student in the clinical mental health program.
So we're going to go through what's known as um, the 10 big questions. And as the title indicates, I'm going to be asking you 10 questions, um, and I'll let you decide how big they are. But please just relax. Um, this isn't Jeopardy. You have all the answers. They're based on your experience. And let's enjoy this trip together. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So to kick it off, let me ask you, what was your worst job?
My worst job, I won't give the company away to protect them, but my worst job, I would have to say is I was working in HR and I just had a bad manager. I feel like we can all relate to having a bad manager at one point in our life. She just micromanaged me, and that's just not my style at all. I'm one of those people, okay, you could tell me once, I got it, let me see you do it, and then let me do it myself. And then if we have like, feedback or improvements are needed, fine. But watching over my shoulder, like a parent-child relationship, it it's never worked in. It never flew with me. So that was one of the worst jobs.
Wow. Yeah, it's one thing, right, to have a helicopter mom. It's another thing to have a helicopter boss or manager.
And I never had helicopter parents. My parents always trusted me. They said, okay, this was my experience. I want you to go out and have your own experience of the world. These are some obstacles that you can encounter, but they always let me experience whatever it was in life myself.
Mm,
So even at a very young age, so I wasn't used to that dynamic.
yeah, definitely. Um, and so I gather you're a CMHC student. On a side note, this isn't one of the questions, but do you have a goal in terms of setting, after graduation, or just
Uh,
practice?
in terms of a state or
So setting, whether it be in organization, community
Mhm.
mental health, private practice.
I really want to focus on athletes. So I would say like my goal would probably be to work for the NBA.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, that
okay.
would be one of my goals.
Very cool. Very, very interesting. All right. Um, so next question. If your house were on fire, let's hope it never happens.
Fingers
But
crossed.
if we're talking hypotheticals here, and you can only take one item, not a person, what would you grab?
Ooh, that's a really good one because two parts of my brain almost split in half. Like because I'm thinking as a mom, what would I need to grab for my kid? And then I'm thinking for myself, what would I need? What would I want to grab? Um, I would probably say I would grab our important documents. That would be some, I know you can make copies of them, but I think my mom brain will override everything and grab birth certificates, passports, COVID cards, all of those things. I think that would be my first instinct.
Very practical. Definitely I can see that is right, the logical mind working there. Um, which one though? Because it's one item. I heard you say documents.
I have a folder, so I would get my folder that has all the documents in there.
Touche, touche, good for
Yes,
you. All right. So I didn't know you were a mom.
I am a mom.
Yeah, awesome. How many kids? Boys, girls?
I have a boy. He just turned 2, December 5th. So he's a big boy now, barely needs me, it makes me cry. And I am pregnant now. I'm 5 months pregnant. I know you cannot tell, but I am 5 months pregnant.
No, totally surprised me. No, that's awesome. Congratulations on another one on the way.
Yes, and he is also a boy. So
Uh, And does that suit you? Do you want a daughter or?
We didn't go in with a gender preference. I have been loving the personality of my little Sagittarius. It has been working well with me being an Aquarius. I have no complaints. I will have a Taurus this go around, so I don't know how that's going to work out. So I'm just hoping. His brother set the bar pretty high that he's a pretty good kid, listens, learns really quickly. So we normally have a good time. So I'm just hoping that this kid is into having a good time.
Well, it sounds like he comes from good stock. He's gonna have a good role model, big brother. I think you'll be just fine.
Well,
Uh,
thank you. I'm hoping so. Fingers crossed.
that's it. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. So, um, next question. Tell me about the last time you had to ask for help.
I like to laugh, so I'm going to say the last time I needed help was grabbing something from the third shelf. I
Hmm.
am pretty tiny and on the lower half of the 5 feet, and I'm pregnant. So the step stool was nowhere to be found. I'm sure my 2-year-old hit it. And I was screaming up the stairs to get my husband to get something off the third shelf.
No, that was nice. I liked how you shared that. And again, you have no idea. Like on video, you
Mhm.
could have told me you were 6 feet tall, and I wouldn't have,
I'm on the lower half. I'm only 5'2".
remarkable. Um, so the little boy, he's sounds like he's maturing quick, but he's a little devious, no?
He is curious. So he is very curious, especially with 2 now. Everything is like, can I touch it? Can I feel it? Can I put it in my mouth? Everything is like, so that's how he experiences the world.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he needed the step stool for something important, and putting it back where it was, he did not think of his mother, which is very sad, but he's living his own little life.
Well, so bringing it back to counseling, right, and theories, are you familiar with Piaget, developmental stages?
I am just a little bit, so you can enlighten me.
Okay. Well, he's in the stage of exploration, right?
Mhm.
Where, yeah, he's putting things in his mouth and he's touching things, and the eyes are always curious, right? So, um, I know you're gearing toward athletics, but never hurts to have that in mind regarding theory. Okay. Next question. What is the first thing you notice when you meet someone?
Mm. I would say their character. And I know I'm probably inflating myself a little bit, but I'm really good at picking up on the person's character
Hmm.
by what they say, by their behaviors. So I'm really good at that. So I would say their character.
Sounds like you're getting in the right field.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you could tell me that you're the president, but I'm like, are you a good person at heart? What do you actually care about? Are you a narcissist? Those things will creep out to me more than what their title is or what they're wearing. I'm more so into the character.
Yeah, right. You know, I like that. After all, um, you know, it's kind of like my word is my bond, right?
Mhm.
And being trustworthy, having good character goes a long way. So I like that. Okay. Next question. What is the worst thing you have ever witnessed?
This is so random, but I never forget it. A dog being run over.
Oh,
There was a little tiny dog. I was probably like 16. I had just gotten my license and I was driving home and there was a dog walking that had gotten loose that was walking across like a really busy street, and it just wasn't enough time for all the cars to stop and let the dog go past. The dog lived, but seeing that was yeah, really traumatic for me, so I think about it now.
yeah. Do you have a dog or have you
I
had
do
one?
not. I have never owned any pets, but seeing that has, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up really from, let's see, 9 years old and up. I always had a dog except for now. So that really that hurts. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
never thankfully I've never experienced that. I'm sorry you did.
yeah. The dog lived, but I think about that every now and again.
Yeah. It's no one should see that. And I love dogs. I love all animals, but especially dogs. Okay. And so let's get to the next question. And as you can tell, I'm reading off. I'm just trying to
It's
find it.
okay.
What is the most valuable piece of advice you've ever received? Where did it come from?
Hmm. I've received so much good advice in my life, thankfully. And I try and keep it in like a journal. And just like at different times you'll need it. I would say by Elizabeth Gilbert. I read one of her books called Big Magic, and I'm also a very big fan of Elizabeth Gilbert. And she says in one of the books, the gist of it, she explains the concept of like how ideas come to you and the way she thinks of how like ideas come to you. And ideas ultimately want to be birthed into the 3D world, into this world. They come to you and they want to be birthed. That's why they're knocking at your door. They're in your head, they're in your spirit, whatever you subscribe to. And if you don't birth this idea, sometimes you'll be able to see another person that you may know or that's like 2 degrees, removed from you,
Mm.
execute on that idea. And I thought it was like, I'm like, oh, like I get what she's saying, but I had never paid attention or seen it in real life. And there was an idea that I had, but I was too scared to execute it. And I kid you not, maybe about like 2 years later, my friend, who I was my neighbor when I was like maybe like 10, went and executed that idea. We had never talked about said idea. We had never discussed that. I had never disclosed the idea to her. But when she was like, yeah, like I'm doing this thing, and I was like, that was the thing that I was thinking in my head 2 years ago. And I just was too scared to do it. And she went off and executed it. And I thought of Elizabeth Gilbert in that moment that if you don't birth it, it has a desire to be birthed. So it will move on without you, with you.
Thank you for sharing that. It's manifesting, right? And there's actually a quote. I have it here in my office. One of those inspirational quotes. Some find them cheesy, but
I
there's
like that.
power to affirmations. And Walt Disney, he's uh credited for it, and I believe it's accurate. Have you ever heard if you can dream it, you can do it?
Yes.
Yeah. When you were sharing that Elizabeth Gilbert, birthing it, it's going to happen one way or the other, whether you do it or someone else does. That's what I think of.
100%. Like, and like if you tie both of those concepts together, like when you're in the process, when the idea came to me, I was just like, oh, maybe I don't have enough money, or maybe I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I can really execute this. All of those doubts came, but when I saw someone else bring it to life and it knocked on someone else's door, I was just like, wait, that was a part of the concept too, that it wouldn't knock on your door if you weren't capable. So if you're able to dream it, you can do it. That concept of it would have never came to you if it wasn't meant for you to execute, if you weren't able to do it, regardless of whatever you physically see in front of you in terms of
Mm.
like resources, help, support. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't have knocked on your door if it wasn't for you.
Do you mind sharing what this was?
So I also, outside of school, I'm an event planner. And I was like, oh, well, I want to go ahead and open up an event space.
Mm,
Even though I've been event planning and I travel over all over the country to plan different events, I don't know why that step scared me at
mm,
that time. A physical space of what I do creatively scared me. And I was just like, oh, like I don't know about it. I'm not sure. And my friend, who is not an event planner at all, she like works for Fendi. She's into fashion. She was just like, this is just something that I wanted to do as an extra stream of income. And she did it. And I was like, well, wow, I could have did this 2 years ago.
wow. Yeah, what's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah. So now I have switched my mindset into, and especially with becoming a mom, I think it really helped turn my mindset on of like, be more curious in
Mm,
life. And that's really what got me to the Chicago school. I'm a journalism girl. I did undergrad journalism and have worked at NBC, worked at Disney. That was my life prior to here,
wow.
but I always wanted to be a therapist. At like 14, I knew I wanted to be a therapist counselor. I knew it, but I put it down. I said, no, like I'm just going to leave that dream
Mm,
somewhere else and not do it and just move into journalism and do that. And once I had my kid and I'm teaching him how to walk and talk and being patient and just like, this kid's gonna walk. Like nothing's physically impeding him from walking. Like he's going to do those things naturally in time and having patience. I was like, why can't I apply that to my own life and be patient with myself? So I started researching like, well, what school would you go to? And then it turned into the next month of like, well, what program would you go to if you were to go back to school? And then the next month turned into, okay, now I'm on a inquiry call. And then it just kept going like that until I found myself applying. And then the acceptance letter was on my door. And then I had signed it to say that I would come. So that entire time I was just curious. I had no expectations. It wasn't like I had completely switched my mindset from, oh, you got to have meet this goal, you got to do that. And that's how I was living in journalism world. In this world, I was just like, no, I'm just curious on what can I do? What's the worst that can happen if I just look into it? And every single step, it was just like, okay, I didn't die. So let's go on to the next step and see what else I can learn. And I got into school.
and here you are.
And here I am. Now I'm talking to you.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah. So nothing killed me along the road. So I think I'm just going to keep going and see how it goes.
Stay curious. That is awesome. Um, that's it, right? Kind of just letting go. I think I was telling you before we started this interview, trust the process, right? And that's it, kind of like when you let go
Yeah.
and understand that we're not always in control, right? and just kind of go with it, take things step by step. It's
It
amazing what you can
freed me
accomplish.
so much. It really did. It freed me from everything that I think most women feel about time. You know, you getting older, uh, you become a mom. That sometimes could be a limiting belief too, because now you have another person to support. It's not just you. Um, so yeah, all of those things kind of, once I switched my mindset into curiosity because I was teaching another person to be curious and being patient with them, it really just helped me.
Yeah, again, and I think I was talking right when we were um getting to know each other a little bit again before the interview, and we discovered that we're both Jersey born and raised.
Yeah.
And I said there are no coincidences, right? This morning, I it's a guilty pleasure and a habit of mine. I listen to the news in the background. And I don't know, have you ever heard, I believe um she's like a makeup mogul, Bobby Brown.
Oh yes, the woman who founded the Bobby Brown label brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Highly successful. Well, she was on this station, and she was sharing a recent venture that she went into. Now she sold her original company years ago and was
Mhm.
just kind of enjoying life. She worked hard for it, but she had an itch for, a second venture, and she started another, I believe, makeup brand or company at 60 years old.
Wow.
And she was sharing how she had a lot of trepidation, like, what if it fails? I'm not 30 years old like I was when I started my first, company. And she had all these fears, all these questions and doubts. But she told herself, really, like, at the end of the day, if I don't try, I'll never know.
And that's amazing that like she went for it
Yeah.
because it's a thing. Like all these things, you would think that this woman would not experience that because Bobby Brown is huge. It's in every store across most across the country. So you wouldn't like, think that. You'd be like, oh, okay, like you did it once, just do it again in someone else's mind. But in her mind, she's like, no, it's just as scary. And Michelle Obama is actually coming out. She came out with a book recently, and she was saying the same thing that her first book was a major success, but even though she has the second book, she experienced this same exact thing of being worried about could she do it? How would people receive it? Is it going to sell? Are people going to understand what she's saying in this book? And, are people going to like it? Or are they going to compare it to the first book? And she was like, she just had to push through it. And now it's in the world and it's just in our hands now. Like it's out of her control.
We're talking about, the first lady, Michelle Obama, and she has the same fears that both you and I do, right? The same questions as any other human. It's remarkable. Um, okay, let's get back to the interview. When you have struggles or need support, who do you go to first?
Mm. My husband.
Mhm.
My husband. He has dark humor, so he always makes me laugh. I appreciate his dark humor. And we just finished watching Wednesday Adams, the new show on Netflix, and that is a lot of dark humor. So I'll typically go to him to get a laugh and then to vent and just tell him where my brain is, where my thought process is on a certain thing. So that usually is our cycle.
It sounds like you chose wisely.
Yeah, I do appreciate his dark humor.
And that's great. Right? Humor, laughter, it's the best medicine. Um, Okay. What's your husband's name?
His name is Ben.
Ben. like that. All right. Next question. What was it like to grow up in your family, and how has that impacted your perception of family now?
Um, I am the firstborn of five.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm the firstborn of five. The two after me are pretty close in age with me. So I'm 27. My sister is 23. My brother is 21, and then we have younger siblings who are 8 and 5. So we're pretty spaced out. But the two after me, we grew up together since we're closer in age. And I just remember a lot of responsibility. We grew up in Jersey City. It was a very different Jersey City than what it is now.
Mhm.
If anyone's visits, it was not that
Uh,
years ago. So it was very different than what it is now. And my mom became a single mom. So with that, it just was a lot of responsibility. Raising the other two, taking them to practices, making sure they did their homework, in addition to living my own kid life as well. So it was almost like being a parent and a kid at the same time, which kind of sucked.
mm,
So I'm very conscious of that now with my son, and just wanting him to be a kid as long as possible, because adult life, it's not that great. It's not as fun as we think it is when we're a kid. There are bills, responsibilities, and a whole list of other things. So I want him to be a kid as long as possible, even with the new addition coming along to our family. I want him to still be a kid as long as possible.
that's no, that's very, sweet, right? Like parentification, it can, it can rob kids of like their childhood.
Yeah. So like I was that kid that got robbed of it. So I didn't start living out memories of like what I would have done if I wasn't in that experience, didn't come to me until later on in life.
Mhm.
And being conscious and wanting to kind of do those things again. Um, like what would I have done? My 14-year-old self wanted to be a counselor. I didn't act on that until now, like a year ago, and 26. So it like just going back and being like, what would I have done? What would I have seen? What would I have visited? So I try and, tap into that and do some things that I would have done as a kid if I had less responsibility.
Let me ask you a question. You believe everything happens for a reason?
I do. I raised wonderful kids before I actually became a biological mother. They're wonderful. So, so I think everything does happen for a reason. Maybe they needed me. Maybe that was the reason why. Or maybe it was, I had to do that experience in order to give my son a great experience.
Mm,
Because I'm very conscious of my parenting. And I think back to like my childhood and what I liked, what I didn't like, what I've changed, and I tailor it to his experience because he's not living the same life that I was living. So I don't necessarily apply every single thing that happened to me and try and make it different for him. I kind of let him guide me. Um, Consciously, I'm like, I am only here to help guide him on his journey. I'm not here to make a decision on who he should be. I'm not here to tell him what he should do. No, I'm just here to guide him and keep him safe and allow him to tell me like what are his dreams? What does he want to do? And support him in that way. So I have no expectations of him career wise or school wise. No.
it's beautiful. Follow that map as a counselor, and you're gonna do just fine.
That's reassuring.
Oh, I'm being serious. Serious. Like, my motto is I don't help, like, we don't help as counselors. We help clients help themselves. And it sounds like, you're taking that, right? Uh, you know, in parenting styles, you're taking like an authoritative approach, right?
Yeah, almost like I'm like, what do you like to do? Like people find it, I guess, funny or, different that he enjoys cleaning. He is obsessed with cleaning, completely obsessed with cleaning. But I think it's because he sees us cleaning. And I think anything that you do, your kid is kind of going to be interested in or want to do.
Mhm.
So he loves cleaning. So I brought him cleaning toys for his birthday and Christmas, like things that are scaled down to like so he does not play with Clorox. He has his own spray bottle. Or so he does like, doesn't play with the adult broom. He has his own scaled down broom and support him. And maybe when he's 10 and he's like, hey, like I want to, start a cleaning business. Why not? Sure, go do it. What do you need me to do? Drive you there? Do you need me to like sit with you and like do a couple of houses or put flyers up or show you how to do that? But yeah, I'll just be there to support him. But I have no idea where it's going to take me. I have no idea why he's obsessed with it and why that's so like clear to the both of us. I have no idea what that means. Does that mean he's going to own a cleaning business in 10, 20 years from now? I have no idea.
Oh, well, if if he wants to, come over, hang out, clean my place, that's fine by me. No, it sounds like whatever you're doing it right. Um, and yeah, let him decide. That's very cool.
Yeah, I do want him to decide. I feel like, people had expectations for me and it took so long for me to hear my own voice
Hmm.
on what did I want to do. And it took a lot of quiet yoga, meditation, books, podcasts to kind of get into like what would I do? Like if no one expected anything of me. So yeah, I want him to know that early on so he doesn't have to kind of figure it out at 30.
Again, better late than never, though. Okay. Next question. What was one of the biggest challenges you have had to overcome, and what was that experience like for you?
um, I would say biggest challenges I would have to overcome. Um, I would say mourning the idea of what my parents could have been. Um, because my mom became a single mother so early, she kind of like detached almost like from us in an emotional way, and just became like a financial provider.
Mhm.
So all of that, I guess, expectation of what a mom should have been, like cuddles and come to your recitals, or I was like, that is a mom. That was my idea of what a mom was. And my mom didn't do that. And she just worked and provided as best as like she could. So I think, and my dad was not around in the picture until very later in life, until I was maybe like 19. So
Mm.
we at that time it was just like I had to mourn what they could have been and mourn what I wanted them to be and accept them for who they are, whether that means still being in contact with them or that means saying, hey, like I'm an adult now and your best was good, but it's not something I want to accept for myself. And I don't think that we should be in contact. Yeah, and not feeling guilty about it. And even if I do feel guilty, just dealing with that guilt or dealing with that grief. They are both very much still alive, but just mourning who they could have been, wanted them to be.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for, letting me in on that. Um, and I like how you put it, mourning. It's kind of like right, a grieving process.
It is. And in the beginning, I didn't understand it that way. In the beginning, like as a child, like it's different ways that you deal with it. Either you could become rebellious, or you could keep trying and striving to be who you think they want you to be in order to get them to be who you want them to be. And yeah, I didn't want to do either. So I mourned them.
Are you familiar with the Kubler-Ross stages of grief?
No, I'm not.
So yeah, there's um 5 stages.
Mhm.
Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. From what you're sharing, does that strike a chord in regard to your experience?
100%. I think 8-year-old me was in denial. I was just like, this cannot be happening. Like, my mom, my dad are going to get it right. I was just in complete denial. It's like, they're going to come around. They're going to be the parents that spend the holidays with you. It's going to be awesome. Just complete denial from reality of what was happening. Um, I would say anger in my teenage years.
Mm,
I would say there was anger there. And I would say later in my like, you know, 20s, then it was just like, okay, acceptance of like, it is what it is. I'm not upset. You did what you could do. That has no bearing on who I would be as a parent. And this was before I had my kid. It has no bearing on who I could be. Um, it doesn't impact where I go, what friends I make, what life I live for myself. And it's okay that that was the best that you could do. It was not what I would have wanted.
mm,
Um, it's not even how I would, it was not the best for me. It was what they could do, but it wasn't the best for me. And being okay and saying that out loud of like, I kind of always felt that shame or guilt of like, oh, well, people say like, oh, it's your mom or oh, it's your dad. Like you should just be okay if they were abusive or they were a drunk. They were just doing what they could. They were just managing as much as they could. And that's okay. But that's not what I want to believe, that that's all that I deserved, or that's all that, that was I was worthy of. I'm like, no, I'm worthy of a great experience, even if my parents couldn't give it to me. And I love them, but that's not for me.
yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, like some kids um grow up right thinking their parents are like superheroes, and then they get older and realize eh, they're not perfect. Or you know, in your case, you probably realized that much earlier than most and went through those stages where now it sounds like you've reached that acceptance. And
100%. I would say that I went through it very early. Like the cape of what a hero parent you think is ripped off very early. And I did not understand why. It was like, why is this happening to me? Like I feel like people typically find out later on, or at least I thought they did. So I could not understand for the life of me why that was happening to me so early.
here you are, 27, 2-year-old son, another one on the way. And it sounds like based on that experience and the level you've reached, you're going to maybe do something different, or you
Yeah.
are doing something different, I should say.
I am doing I'm only living out and practicing what I want to do.
Mm,
Like, I'm not really even in competition with my parents or saying like, "Hey, like I want to do like you did this to me and I want to do the complete opposite," or "You did this and I really like that." It's just I take inspiration from wherever. So there were some good things that they did, and I would probably implement them with my own children. But I'm more so of just like, how do I want to show up as a parent? It's very personal to me on how I want to show up as a parent, as a wife. Um, yeah. So it's not really one particular person or one particular source that I'm like mimicking from. It's just, and I allow myself to evolve. I'm not the same wife that I was year one than the wife that I am now at almost year 4. I am not. We are not the same people. So I allow myself to evolve. I allow my husband to evolve, my kid to evolve. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, change is inevitable. You can fight all you want, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're living and breathing. All right. Believe it or not, last final question, number 10. The big question. And I picked this one. I mean, all of them I picked, but this one I really wanted to close on, and that is, if there were a book or movie based on your life, what would the title be?
Um, ooh, that's a good one. um, I would say familiar friends.
Hmm,
Familiar friends.
Dear friends. Care to
I
elaborate?
see like the wheels are turning. You're like, why would she name it that?
It's
uh,
very thought provoking.
Familiar friends, because even though I have left certain eras of my life, certain, parts of my life, like I'm not the same as I was at 17, 16. At 17, 16, I was a pageant girl. I was a completely different person. And when I got to college, I was the radio journalist girl interviewing celebrities and running a radio show. Like I was different people in different eras of my life, and they all taught me something about myself. They all served a purpose. um I think about them from time after time if I'm like moving forward, like, oh, what did 14-year-old me like? Or what did 17-year-old me like? What did 21-year-old me like? And think about that moving forward. So I would say familiar friends. I knew them once. We had a great time when we were living that era. And they were good versions of me.
That's very creative. Like you definitely you're a creative individual. That's because those friends, they're the stages of a niece. Niece at 14, 21. And what I was thinking was, wow, this is what led her to pursue this career. She went through all these experiences, this identity development. Here she is today.
Yeah, this version of me. I hope she's treating you good. I hope you're enjoying your experience with her.
I don't know about you, but yeah, no, I'm definitely enjoying this experience, this interview. Um, I got into this field, you know, I've had all types of experiences and stages, and I didn't 12-year-old, Scott definitely, although I had like the innate skills, I would say,
Hmm.
um, I definitely had no uh, future in counseling. That was not my plan. Um, so it's remarkable,
Yes,
what will be
you
if you
think
just
of
let it.
those people, like you think of those versions, those old friends.
Yeah,
Scott in Jersey, and like Scott now, and they're all different.
yeah, yeah. Who would have known, right? We grew up not that far from each other. You were up in Jersey City, and I was just a little south, on the shore, and here we are,
Yeah.
full circle. Um, all right. So lastly, and I just want to close on this. How would you describe this experience?
First, I think the interviewer matters. The interviewer always matters. They like dictate from a journalism eye, they dictate how the conversation is going to go. I think you did a fantastic job. You got things out of me that I probably wouldn't share. So you did a fantastic job. The questions were great. It was organic. It was a lot of fun. So yeah.
Um, I'm so glad to hear that. Um, that was it. Going into it, um, I wanted us both to enjoy this process. So thank you, Anise.
Of course.